Ugh. Trade is ahead of me. I'll wait. They get used to creating content and putting in the trades faster. Just because look at how fast this moved already. This should have hit my stop loss. See, it still hasn't triggered. See, it should be selling right now. Frustrating. Maybe it wasn't updated. That's just frustrating. Let's check how much I made on that trade. I can't do math off the top of my head. I'm not a smart Asian that can do that. So I made $170 on that trade. It's a quarter of a Bitcoin that I was trading. Look at previous shorter time frames and look for a strategy that is consistently profitable, and then follow that forward. So that's something you always want to do with the strategy that you're implementing now, is back test it, because we have all the data how profitable you would be if you implemented that strategy previously. As you can see, it's supported here on the wicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches, which shows that this is a relatively strong trend. So it's getting supported and bought out at these levels on the diagonal as well. I'm going to graph this on the closures, and TA is more of an art than it is a science. So this is on the closures. I'm gonna make another one for the wicks, and this will give me a range where price has been getting sold at. Basically, it hits around these levels, prices have been getting sold at these levels. So I'm gonna see if this is a relevant trend. See, you can see there's 1, 2, 3 within inside this area. There's closures coming close to this 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're gonna see if this trend holds up, and then we'll also see if this diagonal trend right here holds up as a diagonal resistance. But we'll see if I was just drawing lines to draw lines, and if it actually made sense, and if this plays out, or if it's just randomness and I'm just setting a bias, because that oftentimes can happen as well. Okay, I'm gonna set an alert on this 15-minute right here, just to notify me ahead of time that I should be looking at this, just in case. If this starts to break, I'm gonna look for an entry when it breaks, but set a stop loss right below the area of where it's heading in. But I'm also gonna take a look at the moving averages, RSI, stochastics, just to confirm and look for confluence, and then also checking the candlestick itself. That's one of the first things I need to be checking, is a candlestick. What is the formation, and then also the support lines and the trend of the support lines and the volume behind the trend as well. But I got out of that trade, made $170. Not bad, not great, because I could have made more. So I need to figure out a better strategy of trading on the shorter time frames, and having a strategy when I fall asleep. I'm trying to aim for $200 a day. So looking at the month, did I average out at least $200 a day for the month? As you can see in the earlier video, this has broken this trending support line on significant volume. Still low volume on this green candle right here, where people are starting to buy up this position. I'm gonna wait till this bottoms out and there's a few more red and green candles at this support levels before I make an entry in. Okay, monitoring this trade at the 15-minute. Momentum is moving upwards. You can see with stochastics, which is a measure of a short-term momentum, green candles all the way through on the 15-minute. Now, if you look at the hourly, I'm going to see if this closes above these trend lines right here, this diagonal support, and then this horizontal support line as well. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to look if this is going to come up here, hit some resistance, come back down to retest this broken trend line right here. On the retest, I'm going to be looking for an entry when it starts to come back down and retest somewhere within this range, and then I'm going to set a stop loss at this support, so I can still come out profitable when I aim for about a Bitcoin trade difference from about $500. I can still come out profitable within that range, so I have to be very mindful of my fees into a trade that has a lot of potential upside. This is also one of the reasons I realized why I started swing trading, and holding on to longer term time frames and trading on longer term time frames. I didn't want to get swamped by fees, but now that I'm trying to get the IRS tax exemption or the trader status so that it's better on my taxes, now I got to figure out how can I make more money on these smaller trades. Could happen as well is that this previous support line, now previous resistance line, could become support, and this might actually be the better entry. I'm gonna wait. And the reason why I'm gonna wait is I want more volume to see if this gets support at least within the previous levels of where it was trading at, if not higher volume, because when the level was sold at, you can see that the volume was at significant levels above this moving average right here. Because this is on small volume and it could just be it could be a few transactions by a few people. I want high market participation. So what I'm going to be looking for is for this just to be at least closer to the levels of the previous trades beforehand. So this could go further. I'm going to look for this retest right here and see if this trend line continues to hold. It looks like the support line is holding. That was immediately bought out when price action went down, but again, low volume. Before I jump into a trade, this was a bad habit I had before, was when I started to get excited about seeing this price movement, was jumping into a trade too early and then getting wrecked. So I want to confirm, and I'm okay with losing out on a trade because in the past it's worked against me more often than not. I'm gonna enter in my trade numbers here. I'm gonna put it in at the 200 moving average, this purple, because that's actually close to a nice whole number as well. Psychological levels, what people like to buy at. It's close to 59,100. Might hold off depending on where this ends up. It looks like it's getting bought out. Volume's continuing to rise, so it's retesting this previous support. Oh man, I should have placed in my order earlier. Yeah, I'm gonna be placing an order right now. 9, it's this level right here, just a little bit above it. 46, 59. I'm just gonna buy up the next. It's moving fast. The other thing I want to do too is I'm gonna put my stop loss already. Stop loss. I'm gonna put my stop loss down here at the next support. Stop loss is at 58,956. I'm gonna put my stop loss first. 58,900. None of it got filled. None of it got filled. Retested. Held. See, this is how fast it moves. I had the right strategy. I hesitated a little bit in putting in. I should have been a lot faster in putting in and explaining less of what my thought process was. Now the trade is ahead of me. Trade is ahead of me. I'll wait. They get used to creating content and putting in the trades faster, just because look at how fast this moved already. We were at the level that I was even talking about, 59,000, and I lost out on it because I was too slow. And that's what happens with these faster time frames, is if you're too slow, you won't make it into the trade, or you'll get into a bad position. And then also when it starts to pump like that, your adrenaline kicks in, and then you get overly excited, and then you try to chase it and get into a new position. You see how I didn't get into it after it left my initial position? It's because there's always going to be another trade. Before, when I was trading, I would just get in at a bad area. So I don't want to place myself in the worst position, especially on lower volume, on this trade. But you can see volume is picking up significantly. That was only a matter of a few seconds. Now that it's getting into the average areas, and now it's getting bought out. Yeah, that looks like a mistrade for me. It's definitely a misstep. It's already up $200 from where we were, and that was only what, a couple of minutes. It happens. You can't get caught up too much in being emotional inside this market. There's always going to be another trade. There's always going to be another opportunity. Oh well. On to the next one. It just continues to pump. That was my thought process. That was my strategy, looking for that entry. And you can see how it did hold and I was just slow. C'est la vie. That's life. You just got to move on to the next trade. Well, I hope you learned something from this. And this has happened to me multiple times where I was just slow on inputting my stop loss, slow on inputting my trade, and then the trade just gets ahead of you and then you're out of the trade. I really did like this area because it matched up with the psychological level. This was a risk to reward ratio of 6. Feels bad, but you just learn how to take it on the chin and just move on. Move on. Subscribe to the channel to get more behind the scenes of what I'm learning on trading on smaller time frames, shorter time frames, and what I'm doing in cryptocurrency in general, plus up-to-date news. Like the video if you like the video. Cheers. We'll talk soon. Take care. Bye.